matter. We have discussed in brief about solids. So we'll just continue from there. We were about to discuss about liquid state. We have completed discussing about solids and now we are moving ahead with liquids, and after this definitely we'll be doing with gases. So your liquids now anyways, like this is something you have to answer. Do they have definite mass and volume? Do liquids have definite mass and volume? Okay. So yes, most of you have answered it correctly. Yes, they do have definite mass and volume. But do they even have definite shape? So do they even have definite shape? Good. So it's like it won't be having any definite shape. Good. Most of you have answered it correctly. That yes, liquids will be having definite mass and volume, but no definite shape. So here we'll just discuss about the properties which you have not written in that table. So liquids, yes, they do have definite mass and volume, but they do not have definite shape. Rather, they just take the shape of the container in which we are taking the particular liquid. The force of attraction between molecules of the liquids is less than that of solids. This is something we have already put in that table, so I won't be writing it down. And your intermolecular spaces, so the space is somewhere moderate in between solids and gases. Are they found to be more compressible or less compressible than solids? Liquids are found to be more compressible or less compressible than solids. You can just answer in more and less. Most of you have answered it correctly that yes, liquids are found to be more compressible than the solids. It's more easy for us to compress the liquid rather than the solids. So liquids here, the density of liquid is found to be more or less than solid. Just answer in terms of more or less. The density of liquids is found to be more or less than solid. Oh, great. It's like almost everyone answered and that too correctly. So yes, it will be as less than solids. Good. So your liquids will be expanding far more than solids. That is something we already know on heating, and even contract far more on cooling. So here directly when we talk about the kinetic model, according to the kinetic model, we'll find that as the distance is found to be little more when compared to that of solids, and here the attractive forces between the liquids is somewhere more than that of the attractive force is found to be, and compared to solids it will be little less. So here what we are finding is the molecules of the liquids are little more free to move within the liquid when compared to that of the solids. So this is how we'll be having or relating it with the kinetic model. So examples of liquids. Okay, what is universal solvent? Give me an example. What is universal solvent? You guys respond so well. It's like even before I ask you, you are answering there. Good. So here it will be as water. So other examples of liquids, we can just take it like alcohol, benzene, kerosene oil. So all those we can also consider it to be as examples for liquid. Now moving ahead, the third state of matter is gas. So the third state of matter is gas. So will gas have definite mass, shape, and even volume? Okay, among the three, okay, here please listen to the question first, then you can answer. I will, like, I'm giving you three options, like, will they be having definite mass, volume, and shape? So which among these will be definite for gas? You just answer for the ones which is found to be definite for gas. So here I'm finding fluctuations in your answers. Okay, the question again. So I repeat the question again. So among these three, that is mass, volume, and shape, which is found to be definite in terms of gas? Okay. Few have answered mass, few have answered volume, few have answered none. Okay, so here the correct answer is that it will be having definite mass but not definite shape and volume. So yes, here the answer is just that the gas will be having definite mass but no definite volume and shape. So just remember this, because we know that gas will be having the ability to occupy the entire space of a given vessel. So we can't say that yes, it is occupying a particular volume or maybe it is having a particular shape. So we can't say it to be having definite volume and shape. Rather, it is having a definite mass. This is how we say, and intermolecular forces are found to be negligible in it. And we already talked about the intermolecular attractions. They are found to be least in the case of gases. So density of gas is found to be the most or the least. So among all the three states of matter, the density of gas is found to be the most or the least as compared to solids and liquids. Good. So most of you have answered it correctly that yes, here the density of gases is found to be the least as compared to that of solids and liquids. Now here itself, we'll talk about few examples. Okay, the most common examples of gases for oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, sulfur dioxide, etc. So all these are the examples for gases. Yeah, okay, fine. Someone has asked about CNG. Can someone expand what is CNG? This is something we have already come across. Good. Good. So most of you have answered it correctly. Yes, it is compressed natural gas. Okay, now another question. What is the major gas that is present in this compressed natural gas? What is the major component in it? Good. So yes, it is as methane. Now here itself, another question for you. Good. So CNG will be majorly, the primary component in CNG is methane. What is the primary component in LPG? First of all, expand LPG and what is the primary component in it? What is the primary component in LPG? First, you try to expand it and then tell me what will be the primary component in it. Good. So most of you have again answered it correctly. That yes, it will be as propane and butane. Again, in that, the major one is butane. Both are the primary components, but again, in among these two, it will be butane, which is found to be a major one. So yeah, moving ahead. So I'll just move to the next slide. I hope you are done with this. So here we'll talk about a terminology. No, fine, I'll just show you for a few seconds and then we'll move ahead. Okay, so hopefully everyone is done. So we'll go to the next one. We'll talk about diffusion. So diffusion, first I'll try to define it. You just try to write it down and then I'll explain you. So diffusion is the process in which the particles of a substance may enter spontaneously into another substance. So here I repeat, diffusion is the process in which the particles of a substance may enter spontaneously into another substance. So it is to do with the movement of the particles. So if you have really understood this definition, now I am giving you three options. Those are solids, liquids, and gases. Which among these three will be having the ability to diffuse more? Good. Most of you have answered it correctly again. So it will be as gas. Yes, so it is the gas which will be having more ability, or the one which will be easily diffusing into another one. But few factors that we have to know is This rate of diffusion depends on, see, rate here means the speed at which it will be moving. So we are talking about this diffusion, which depends on both temperature and surface area. So your rate of diffusion depends on both temperature and surface area. Now you tell me what will be the condition for higher rate of diffusion. The temperature should be high or low, and even what should be the case of surface area, whether it should be high or low. For higher rate of diffusion, what it should be for temperature and surface area. Everyone has typed high, but what is high? Just the temperature or just the surface area, or one among that, or both? Good. So it should be both for higher rate of diffusion, both the temperature and surface area should be high. You can just note it down and then we'll move ahead. We'll again make a table to just have an idea about all these three states properly. Okay, so we'll move to the next slide. Yeah. So here you have to make 4 columns. First one will be for property. Okay. And here, this one is states of matter. So here we'll be having 3 states. Solid, liquid and gas. So once you are done with this table, we'll continue with properties. So shall we? Yeah. So the first property that we want to talk about is mass. So mass, I'm giving you the term as definite and indefinite. So you can just place it accordingly for all the three states. The term given to you is definite and indefinite. So you can just place it accordingly for all the three states. Good. So it will be as, yes, it will be as definite for all the three. The next one is volume. Volume will be definite for all the three, or which among these three? Good. So again, most of you have answered it correctly that yes, volume is found to be definite in the case of solid, even in the case of liquid. But here, rather than writing it as indefinite, it's better that we try to specify that gas, the volume is going to vary with temperature and pressure. Yeah. So here it is something which is going to vary with temperature and pressure. Now in terms of shape, for all the three, what will be the case in terms of shape? It will be definite for good. So it is found to be definite in the case of solid. What happens in the case of liquid? It will be occupying the shape of the container. So it basically varies with the shape of container. And here it will be as no definite shape in the case of gas. Now the fourth property is rigidity. So rigidity, now the three terms I'm giving to you is highly rigid, less rigid, not rigid. Highly rigid, less rigid, not rigid. Good. Yes. So most of you have again answered it correctly. For rigidity, it will be as highly rigid in the case of, see, the attractive molecular forces is found to be more when we are talking about solids. So we'll be finding it to be as highly rigid, whereas it will be as less rigid in the case of liquid. And the last one, the gases are found to be not rigid. Once you are done, I'll just move to the next slide. So your table anyways continues with all the 4 columns. Once we are done with all these properties, today we'll also talk about interconversion of matter into different states. So what are the processes involved in the interconversion of these matters into the different states? Okay, so I'll just move to the next one. Okay, so the 5th one, we have to talk about its density. So here, in terms of density, very low density, moderate, and high. So the 3 terms given to you is very low, moderate, and high. Good. So yes, the density is found to be high in the case of solid, and it will be moderate in the case of liquids, and it will be very low in the case of gases. Now the next property is packing of the particles. This is something we have already come across. So in the packing of particles, it is loosely packed, moderately packed, and closely packed. The 3 options for you are loosely packed, moderately packed, and closely packed. Good. So yes, packing of the particles, it is found to be closely packed, or even we can say to be as tightly packed in the case of solids. And in case of liquids, we'll find it to be as moderately packed. Whereas in the case of gases, we'll find the molecules to be as loosely packed. What about the expansion on heating? Okay, so your options are more, less, least. Expansion on heating, more, less, least. Think and then try to answer. Okay, so here your options are more, less, and least. Which will be expanding more on heating? So here many are going wrong. Okay, so before giving you the answer over here, you just try to tell me, is it more easy for me to heat iron and then convert it into liquid state? Is it really easy for me? So that's an example that we were supposed to consider in the case of solids. But the same thing, if I just talk about liquids, okay, let us take water and the amount of heat that you will be requiring to again convert it into gas. What is it going to happen? Is that more easy or is it more easy in the case of solids over here? So when you are trying to convert the water in terms of the gaseous state, is it more easy to convert the water in terms of gas or the vapor phase, or is it more easy for me to do that in case of solids? Good. So here you have understood that yes, it is more easier for me to expand the liquid when compared to that of solids. And see, gases usually they are already expanded and just you try to provide some heating, their kinetic energy will be increasing in such a way that the expansion will be eventually occurring in a larger larger phase. So here what we'll be finding is expansion on heating is found to be least in the case of solids, and here it will be the more, here it will be as less. So it will be the least is found to be in the case of solids, where it will be like less. You can also say to be like moderate again, and here it will be like found to be more in the case of gases. So the next one is intermolecular space. So intermolecular space, in terms of this, are we going to find it minimum, maximum, moderate? Minimum, maximum, and moderate. Good. So intermolecular spacing is found to be maximum in the case of gases. It will be minimum in the case of solids, and it will be moderate in the case of liquids. So shall I move to the next one? We're just left with 2-3 properties. Yeah. So the next one is intermolecular force of attraction. So here also the option remain the same. It is minimum, maximum and moderate. Good. So yes, intermolecular force of attraction is found to be maximum in the case of solids. And again, it will be moderate in the case of liquids. And it will be minimum in the case of gases. So the next one is in terms of kinetic energy. Kinetic energy of the particles. So here it will be again more, moderate and least. Yeah, or else you can directly use this maximum, moderate, minimum. Good. Few are still going wrong. Good. So yes, in terms of kinetic energy of the particles, it is found to be minimum in the case of solids. It will be moderate in the case of liquids, and it will be maximum in the case of gases. Okay, here itself I want to introduce a term, that is a random movement of gases will be known as a particular type of motion. Do you know what is that term known as? See, random motion is only possible in the case of gases, and this random movement, that is known as zigzag motion. It is known with a particular term. Do you know that? The zigzag motion of these gases will be having a particular name. What is that? It is known as a particular motion. See, translatory, it is motion of the constituent particles. Yes, they show translatory. Even liquids will be translatory, but whereas solids are oscillatory. But I'm just asking, there is a particular term for the zigzag motion of gases. Okay, it's random motion itself. So here comes a new term that will be as Brownian motion. The zigzag motion of the gas particles is known as Brownian motion. It's just for an additional information. Yeah. Good. And then if at all we talk about motion, what is the motion that is present in its constituent particles? Then we'll find it to be as oscillatory in terms of solids, and it is found to be translatory in the cases of liquids and gases. And moreover, the motion that we talk about being specific, it is as Brownian motion. Shall I move to the next slide? Yeah. So the last one is compressibility. Yeah, here also you can just take it as maximum, minimum, and moderate. Which will be highly compressible? Good. So the one which is highly compressible is found to be gas. And normally we consider solids to be as incompressible. And whereas it will be like less will be for liquids and it will be highly compressible will be for gases. So with this we can stop now and move ahead with interconversion of matter into different states. First, let us define what is meant by interconversion of matter. Interconversion of matter is the phenomenon of change of matter from one state to another state and maybe even back to original state by altering the conditions of, it means only by varying the temperature and pressure we'll be finding this interconversion of matter to occur. So by altering the conditions of temperature and pressure is called as interconversion of matter. So just try to see here. So it is overall found to be temperature and pressure dependent process. So here you have to answer now. First you can just take a note of this. Done. Okay, so here the question for you. If I want to convert solid into liquid, will I be heating or will I be cooling? A simple question. If I want to convert solid into liquid, am I supposed to heat or am I supposed to cool? Good. It is, I have to heat it such that I'm converting solid into liquid. The same thing, what am I supposed to do if I want to convert liquid into gas? Yeah, we'll talk about what is the name of that process. First, you just try to answer this. Again, if I want to convert my liquid into gas, am I supposed to heat or cool it down? Yes, it is heating it again. But now I want to convert my gas into liquid. I want to convert my gas into liquid. So, I'll be cooling it down. Good. Again, liquid into solid. Yes, I have to again cool it down. So you can see that how we are just varying the temperatures and pressures such that I'm converting my particular state into the another form of state. We'll talk about each conversion and what is the name given to each of these conversions in detail now. So first we'll just talk about the interconversions of solid to liquid. I'll just move ahead to the next slide. Good. Yeah, so the first conversion that we are talking about is interconversion of solid into liquid state. And even vice versa. So we'll talk about two of the processes here itself. Okay, so this conversion from solid to liquid is also known as, we are not talking about sublimation here itself, we'll talk about that later. Okay, so yes, most of you have answered it correctly, that we call it to be as melting or fusion. So melting or fusion is the process by which solid changes into liquid state at a constant temperature by absorbing heat energy. So see, it's very randomly we can just say that, okay, it's just the conversion from solid to liquid state. But if we are really very specific saying it, that what is it going to show the conversion is, it is a process by which solid changes into, this solid changes into, yeah, that's fine, into liquid state at a constant temperature by absorbing heat energy. So this is a more appropriate way of defining melting or fusion. So yeah, if I want the reverse thing to happen, I want to convert my liquid into solid. Here also we have two terminologies for that. As the way we had it melting or fusion, there also we have two terminologies. Good. So it's not condensation. Yes, it is. Okay, someone has typed something by mistake. So yeah, here it will be as freezing or solidification. Now, if we try to define this appropriately, it will be as here it is a process in which liquid changes into liquid is going to change into solid state at constant temperature by, will it be absorbing heat energy? Is it going to absorb heat energy or evolve? Good. By releasing or evolving heat energy, because here it should be the cooling process that should occur. So that's how we define it to be as freezing or solidification. If we are done with this, we'll move to the next slide. We have two more definitions. That is how to define melting point. See, melting point, it is the constant temperature at which solid changes into liquid by absorbing heat energy. So it is the constant temperature at which a solid changes into liquid state by absorbing heat energy. Here itself, we can also define what is freezing point. So freezing point is also a constant temperature at which a liquid changes into solid state by releasing or evolving heat energy. After this, a question for you. What is the melting point of ice and the freezing point of water? Yeah, try to answer these two. So here it's like most of you are going wrong. Try to think and then answer. I've asked you, it's the melting point of ice and freezing point of water. It's only few of you have answered it correctly. Guys, just a note for you, the numerical value of melting point and freezing point is same. I'm giving you a hint over here. That is, the numerical value of melting point and freezing point is same. So what should be the answer for melting point of ice and freezing point of water? I've almost told you the answer now. Good. So here it will be as 0. So both of them can be considered to be as 0 degrees centigrade. Remember that these two values will be same. The melting point, see, just try to note here, it's the melting point of ice. My water is not going to melt. It is my solid which is supposed to be melting. So I have to use the terminology to be as melting point. Freezing point, my ice is not going to freeze because that's already in the solid state. So you have to definitely take it in the liquid state. So just remember, take it as a note that the numerical value of melting point and freezing point of water is same. And here, if we are finding, so this is something like, if this is just for an example, if we are finding that the melting point of ice is found to be as 0 degrees centigrade, then the freezing point of water is also as 0 degrees centigrade. So all these are totally dependent on the temperature. So this is how we get it. The last question for today, that is, what will happen if an impurity is being added? Will the melting point of the solid is going to increase or will it be decreased? To a pure solid, I am adding an impurity. So the melting point of the solid is going to increase or decrease. So here you should just make it as a note that always impurities are the one which will be reducing the melting point of a pure solid. They are going to decrease. So most of you have answered it wrong. So they are going to decrease. So you are trying to add a impurity over there. It's not, I didn't ask you in terms of boiling point. So if you see, if you are adding something more, I would be providing extra energy such that the boiling point is going to increase. But here it's the melting point. It should be going to even much lower temperature such that the melting should proceed. See, here I have asked you in terms of the melting point and you are being already given a solid. So if you are adding an impurity, your melting becomes difficult. Your melting is becoming difficult means it should be going to even lower temperature such that the melting is going to occur. So whenever an impurity is added to a pure solid, the melting point is going to reduce. So yeah, we can stop our class with this today. And the ones who want to show me a particular slide, they can just be specific. I'll show you those slides. Or else the ones who are done, they can leave. Yeah.